to introduce ourselves on the panel. Let's just take care of that first.
Hi, I'm Rachel Flinhauber. I'm a professor of education at Belmont University.
And I'm Elise Adler. I am the Assistant Director for Community Engagement and Education here at the Public Library.
My name is Stephanie Bradford, and I'm a consultant for the Department of Education.
I am Juan Escarrier with the Vanderbilt Children's Hospital.
Hi, Jennifer Hill, the Policy and Programming Director of the National Public Education Foundation.
And Susan Dry, I'm Assistant Director for Nashville Public Library, over everything that's not public.
So you already know this, I'm just going to state it again. So you'll have 10 minutes to do your presentation. If we have questions, we will ask for up to 10 minutes worth of questions. We have, it's a very tight schedule. We have not finished the vetting process, but we made a collective decision to go ahead and do all the presentations regardless. And, you know, one way or another, you're going to be hearing from us either about the vetting or the, you know, what has happened. We will, we've got 20 applicants for a very small pot of money, and we will make recommendations to the mayor's office, and then it's out of our hands. So Liz is going to be the timer. So 10 minutes, it's either long or short, depending on how you feel about it, but she'll let you know when you have about 2 minutes.
I'll give you a 2-minute warning on the
Okay.
presentation.
All right, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. My name's Chan Shepard. I'm the Executive Director of Preston Taylor Ministries. And
I'm Sarah Norberg. I'm the Literacy Director for Preston Taylor Ministries.
this is one of our former students, just demonstrating a little bit of the demographic that we serve. We have about 300 students across 8 sites at Preston Taylor Ministries. For this proposal, we are serving 45 of those kindergarten through 3rd grade students. The particular students that we're serving, over 75% were born to mothers who became mothers as teenagers. Over 90% of them are in non-traditional families. There's a high rate of family members in prison, high rate of uninvolved fathers, and they attend schools with a high rate of below proficiency scores. Those two in particular are Cockrell and Park Avenue. 27% of the students in the proposal were reading on grade level at the beginning of 2017-2018 school year. We've noticed that there are few books in the home, low education rate of adults in the neighborhood, poor nutrition, sleeping habits, sporadic adult supervision, all the obstacles that you're aware of. You know that they are hurdles to good reading. This is Deontay, who was helpful one day, creating the image that our children carry a lot of baggage, a lot of obstacles, a lot of burdens, and we believe it's kind of silly to say, just read more, just work harder. There needs to be a little bit more comprehensive approach to helping to build those reading skills. We've got a multi-tiered or multi-pronged approach to reading development, and it happens, one, by creating a loving, encouraging, and inspiring environment. And so this happens in our after-school programming, kindergarten through 13th grade. So we're seeing students over a long period of time. We're seeing them 5 days a week, and we're seeing them on the weekends. And some of the students in middle school we see before school starts. And so all this puts together this environment where children are motivated to learn and to learn. These are the 4 sites where students attend that are in the proposal. Our 40th Avenue Church of Christ site, Mount Nebo Missionary Baptist site, Wilson Center, and Park Avenue Baptist Church. So our sites are housed in churches, and then the one facility that we own is the Wilson Center. Almost all of our elementary students have a one-on-one mentor that eats lunch with them in the school cafeteria. As they get into middle school, they come before school Thursday mornings for breakfast and Bible study. And then in high school, a one-on-one program called Dinner and Devo, just to illustrate and make the case that reading doesn't just happen when there's a reading teacher and a child, but that reading happens when students are in a relationship, they're motivated, and they feel safe. We have a PTM Life running program where students learn to run 5Ks and build resilience. And then students are ushered up through junior high. Next week we have about 50 of our students doing a job shadowing program called Spring Break in the Marketplace. So the students that we're targeting in this proposal will one day be job shadowing through Spring Break in the Marketplace, building their exposure to opportunities outside of what they would normally see. And then our high school program provides life skills and job development. So this is all part of creating the nurturing environment. And Sarah's going to share a little bit about LaDesia's story and her family story.
So in regards to our reading program, LaDesia started in 2007 as a second grader. She's now 18 years old. She has 5 sisters, all the way down to second grade now. So 17, I believe 15, 13, 10, and 7. Her mom signed her up when she was in second grade. She was a struggling reader. Over time, she was in a reading class with a reading teacher. She came to the weekend events. Her scores began to go up. By the end of the 5th grade, she was about an average reader. Her sister, by the end of 4th grade, she was on average with her fluency because of the test scores we've kept over the years. And now her youngest sister, who is second grade, same age as when she came in, she's part of a reading group. She's part of a songwriting group, and she has a song that she has written. She's the leader of her group, and I just wanted to read this quickly, and then we'll go on. It says, "We can play all day like it never ends, and the whole world feels like your best friend. The grass is green, and the sky is blue, and the clouds are white. That's why I love you. Let's go outside, because I love summertime. Let's go to the beach. Let's go to the pool. The sun's so hot, but the water is cool." And this is just kind of the multi-tiered approach that we have, that it's not just one child we serve, but we've had relationships with families for a long time that we see with each passing child, things progressively get better.
And then our 13th grade program allows one more year of mentoring and help, creating an opportunity for youth to become independent. The second part of our approach to reading is the technical reading instruction, and this is about hiring professional reading teachers to work with small groups of students Monday through Thursday in an after-school setting. So these are 2 of our sites. You want to hold up. We use quick reads, PALS, part of our curriculum, reciprocal reading approach, sight words, Pat R, and then Sarah leads our teachers in 9-week assessments.
PALS through Vanderbilt. It's also PALS.
Another part of our approach is to have weekend reading camps, and these are typically facilitated by a fraternity from Vanderbilt or a church group where Sarah puts together a rotation of reading activities and always partner reading and some type of fun, a lot of giveaways, helping students to get this idea that, okay, reading is fun. And then we have other groups that do weekend literacy activities. One that we do probably twice a month is called Read and We. We'll have a group come in, we'll do some gardening or some painting or some mulch moving, and then partner reading. We sneak the reading in. Kids don't know how much fun it is until they've been weeding and spend the time with a caring adult. And then a summer reading program that happens through library trips, and it happens through more partner reading and just tons of volunteers that come in through the summer. We have our students, we'll have our students this year in a full day program. A small part of that will be reading, a big part of that will be relationship building activities, arts and crafts, and sports. Another part of our multi-tiered approach is to experience reading through partnerships. Nashville Public Library and Puppet Truck, going to the different libraries for visits, McKay's Bookstore, Patterson Raps is a group that we partner with often, and then we involve other groups in helping to train our teachers. And then a final part of our approach is to get books in the homes of children. This is a snapshot of a room that we call our library. We're constantly getting books. We're buying books from McKay's. We have book donations, and then we award those students. Sarah created a book fair the other day where students earn an opportunity to come in and select books, and then we'll do some home deliveries and go and visit a home and provide books. What we expect to happen with this grant proposal is that the number of students reading on grade level will increase by at least 10% over the course of the academic year, and that matches up with what outcomes that we've seen in the past. At least 50% of our students in 1st through 3rd grade will increase their oral reading fluency. 75% of our kindergarten students will gain mastery in phonological awareness. And then students will report spending more time reading at home and will become more excited about reading. The total cost of the multi-tiered approach for 45 students for us is almost $81,000. We have gifts that are committed in the amount of $45,000. And so we're asking for the CPF fund, the CPF to provide $35,000. Most of that will be in salaries for literacy director and reading teachers. The strengths of our proposal include an experienced staff. I've been at PTM for 19 years, and Sarah, literacy director, has been at PTM for 12 years. And then our lead reading teacher has been at PTM for 10 years, and our program director has been there for 5 years. We have over 300 volunteers a week and strong partnerships. And then we have the financial stability to sustain a grant amount for multiple years. So thanks for the opportunity, first of all, and for just a blue chip group of people who know reading and know education and know Nashville to think through these proposals.
Thank you. Are there some questions? Are there some questions over here?
It seems like a pretty comprehensive program to me.
I have one question about the retention. I mean, you talked about some of the people who have been with you. What is the retention rate of kids coming in early to stay through the program?
I would have to guess. We don't have
Okay.
the measurements, but it's around 50%. And the big transitional years for us are middle school, and like most neighborhoods in Nashville, the Preston Taylor and surrounding neighborhood has a fair amount of gentrification right now, and so we're at a place where we haven't been, where we're seeing a little bit more turnover.
Mm-hmm.
But our 11th grade class, there are 15 students in the 11th grade class, 10 of them have been together for over 8 years. So that's an exceptional class that points to something great happening with that group of people, but that's not every class. So 50% is probably a little bit closer to the transition that we'll see. Like we'll lose about 50% of our students every 3 years, something like that.
I had a question. Since you all are doing mentoring and shadowing programs and partnerships, do you see your seniors go on to college or do any work?
That's what I was going to say is for LaDeja, she's now at TSU.
Okay.
And we are working towards that or some sort of like training school, whether it be like an electrician. There's one kid, his name is Tamaz, his brother's in 5th grade. He's graduate and he is now a welder and is out doing construction and different things like that. So we do see some sort of trade school or we're moving in that direction.
You said that you hope to see a 10% increase in the reading level of students who participate in this program. Are you using an internal assessment, or are you tying that back to data sharing with the district and monitoring it that way?
We use an internal assessment. So every 9 weeks we have a battery of tests that the students take from kindergarten through 4th grade. Once they pass a test, they don't have to take it anymore, but we assess letter naming, sound naming, nonsense word fluency, segmenting, blending, oral reading fluency, and comprehension. And so we assess those using, some of them are, the oral reading fluency is through Vanderbilt, their oral reading fluency passages. And then, so yeah, we assess those. And if they're average or above in their fluency and comprehension, that would mean that they were on grade level for us, is how we track it.
I don't think we're doing this now, correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a time where we would get the TCAP scores and other reading scores from the school, and they were willing to share that information with us. We've relied on our internal assessments a lot more the last 2 years.
And we do that every 9 weeks. So we chronicle from what happened at the beginning of the year to the end of the year. And then the site directors get quarterly or every 9 weeks what their site is doing and how they're doing, and the reading teachers are up to date on that as well.
What was the increase for last year's assessment?
So I think I have this, I should know this. I'll put it this way, we met all of our goals except the 75% of kindergarten students who will gain mastering in phonological awareness. And that was a really low number because we didn't really know why, except that we said, hey, we will add in what we call the PAT-R, which is a phonological awareness training program, to beef up that. So 4 or 5 of our sites are working hard to do that. At the Wilson Center, 5 out of 7 of the kindergartners have already passed their segmenting and blending for the year. But we did meet all of those except for that one. They do meet it. I will say this, most of our kids, if we have them kindergarten through 4th, what we're seeing is that by the time they hit 4th grade, their average, or at least they're only taking the oral reading fluency. They have learned their sounds, they have learned their letters, they're blending words, they're segmenting words, they're putting their nonsense words together, and sight words too, I forgot that.
And the training for the volunteers, you said there is training for the volunteers?
Well, we used the Nashville Public Library's training for just, I'm trying to think of the program.
Just read it again.
Read it again, to help volunteers when they're reading with students.
Okay.
That's kind of and we just offered it up to whoever would like to come. It was not something for everybody. We also have buddy books in the schools they're like bag books that they can pick up. They're lunchmate mentors, and it just has some instructions on the outside of things to look at, like do a book walk, make some predictions, ask, who, what, when, where at the end of the story. So yeah, those are kind of some of the.
And the 35,000, is it for one particular SE literacy director? So
It'd pay a portion of the literacy director's salary, and then it'd pay the full wages for the Park Avenue and Mount Nebo reading teachers. Those reading teachers, we hire about 10 hours a week, about $20 an hour for those reading teachers.
So break it out for us. How much for the literacy director? How much for the...
Sarah's our literacy director. Her salary is in the mid-30s, and she does more than just oversee this proposal. So I can't remember in the budget what we outlined, but as the percentage of her salary would be this particular proposal, and then the full, it's probably close to $7,000 for the Park Avenue and $7,000 for Mount Nebo. So that'd be about 20 going towards the literacy director. So it'd be pretty close to that. And I'll point out that if this group decided to support PTM and granted less, then we've got a contingency plan in place to cut from a couple of other programs, rely more heavily on volunteers in order to do what we're saying we're going to do. And then if this group said, wow, 35 is not enough, we'd like to do 50, then we would apply some of this funding to adding another site in the fall. And we would serve another 20 students in an area near Fisk, just north of Fisk. And so we would move some money that has already been given to PTM into that growth area.
I had a little bit of, Jen, I had a question about that. So when I was reading, and you talked about like the reallocation of funds into this program, is that just y'all doubling down on a program that's been really effective for you guys, or how does that?
Yes, specifically, like our PTM Life program, we have money to set aside for a PTM Life director. What we would do is we would pull out that director and use interns and staff. We would give extra responsibility. I would take on the extra responsibility, another person would, and we would run that program without a $12,000 part-time position for PTM Life. So that's one example of where we would work harder in a couple of ways in order to prioritize the reading.
Yes, how are you, it says in here that you're consulting with the Metro teachers, and what's the communication process like with the children you serve as teachers, and what kind of feedback are you getting from that?
So it's primarily emails, and sometimes we're in the schools, and also the lunchmate mentors. So the lunchmate mentors go and eat with the kids, and the teacher might talk to them, and then they'll talk to us, and so we can follow up with their teachers moving forward. They'll say, hey, this student could work on more decoding skills. Could you do some more of that? And so I can share that with the reading teacher and just say, hey, Jalen's teacher said he's really struggling with his decoding. Can you make sure that we get some of that in? And she may say, hey, we're already doing that, but I'll give him 10 extra minutes at the beginning of the day to work on that. Also, just as a side note, like with the sight words and stuff, because they have to know so many, the sight directors are really working hard to hammer those home outside of the reading class and do read-alouds and songs and different things that are kind of literacy activities that don't necessarily happen with direct instruction in the reading class.
Okay, I
We
think,
got 45 more seconds.
okay, well, let me just say thank you. All right, so we appreciate your time, and it's a process, and
Yeah,
you're the first to have.
thanks for what y'all doing.
Thank you
Thanks.
so
All
much.
right, see you later.
All right.
So I just wanted to tell you a little bit about what we hope to do with this funding if we are chosen to receive it. But we're seeking support to expand our customized and evidence-based Y literacy program to a new cluster of schools by serving a minimum of 50 elementary age students who are all reading below grade level with weekly after-school intervention. And I'll talk a little bit about the problem and then what we've been doing for almost 10 years to combat this problem and what we hope to do moving forward. So we all know there's a huge literacy crisis throughout Middle Tennessee. And right now we have about 2 out of 3 MNPS third graders who are reading below grade level. And there's a myriad of reasons for that. With our kiddos, we definitely see, as we meet new families every semester, just a lack of knowledge of what's available to them. They don't know about after-school opportunities. They may not have resources in our home. When we speak with a lot of our students when they come into the program, the majority of them don't have books at home or don't read with their parents at home. And so family engagement is a big piece to that too. So educating our families on resources throughout the community and what they can do at home as that first line of defense as the educator for their kids. We currently serve a little over 200 students per year. We've been around since 2009. And so our program definitely falls into that maximizing out of school time and summer reading loss. And I'll talk about kind of the timeline of what our program looks like. So our solution currently is, if we receive this funding, we would like to expand our proven literacy model to a new cluster of schools in the Donaldson-Hermitage area. So when we heard about this opportunity, we kind of assessed where we are, and currently I'm at Christ Church in the South Nashville area, so I serve the Antioch, South Nashville population. Moses is over in East Nashville, and then Monique is in Bordeaux. And we've served those communities for many, many years now. And when we looked at Donaldson and Hermitage, we kind of targeted 5 particular elementary schools who are all very low performing. And right now, between those 5 schools, well over 2/3 of those students are testing below with their ELA scores for the TN Ready test. And then just a little bit about our program. Again, we serve about over 200 students per year. It's all volunteer based. So we pair our kids with a volunteer tutor whom they work with one-on-one for about an hour once a week for the duration of a semester. Our curriculum, which I'll get into next, is very heavily based off of reading recovery. And I'll kind of go into a little bit of data in a second about what that looks like and what we've been doing for a few years. But our target audience are those students kindergarten through 4th grade who are reading below grade level. Those 5 schools that we've selected, we do currently have partnerships through the Y with our fund company, and I believe they're feeding sites. So we have great relationships with the administration at those 5 schools, so it'd be very easy for us to get some literacy after school program going over there. Our outputs, we hope to serve 50 students, grades K through 4, reading below grade level. Recruit and train 50 volunteers to serve as tutors. And our outcomes, 80% of students who receive 5 or more lessons will increase their text level by at least 1 text level. And 80% of students receiving 7 or more lessons will increase by a minimum of 2 text levels. 70% of tutors trained will report an increase in confidence in their tutoring skills. And just to give you a little insight into what this looks like currently, for our current school year, for the students who've received 5 or more, we're at about 87% who have increased by 1 level. And for the students who have received 7 or more, we're about 83% for who's increased by 2 text levels. We're at 100% of tutors who are trained and report an increase in confidence in their tutoring skills. So So how does it work? What does our program look like? So the biggest component of our program is definitely that one-on-one tutoring. So we work very closely with colleges in the area. We're on hands-on Nashville, and luckily being through the YMCA, we kind of have a very easy volunteer base with our members and with our community partners and our board. So that's never, luckily volunteerism is never an issue. But each participant receives 1 hour long one-on-one tutoring sessions once per week, which is tailored to their actual reading level. Our curriculum is based off of reading recovery. And so reading recovery is an intervention that's used during the school day pretty heavily. And they target low-performing first graders who receive they enter the program for 12 to 20 weeks, and they receive daily 30-minute pull-out one-on-one instruction from a coach who's trained in reading recovery. And their most recent data shows that about 72% of students who complete that program make it to grade level within that 12 to 20 weeks. So our curriculum is very similar to that. We have school year programming and summer programming, so we kind of operate in semesters. Our fall program runs September through December. Our spring program runs January through May, and then we have a summer reading loss intervention program that runs June through July. We also distribute books. Like I said, with our kids, so many of our kids don't have resources at home. They might not have a library card. So a lot of what we do is, especially on my side of town, a lot of our families don't speak English and don't necessarily feel comfortable walking into a library and asking for help and asking to sign up for a library card, or don't know what that process looks like. So a lot of what I do is meeting them over at the library, helping them sign up, telling them about the services that the library offers. That's one of my favorite aspects of this program, for sure, because we have so many families who just don't know what's out there. We had a little boy last semester who was terrified of reading out loud. He would sit there with his tutor and just stare at her until she eventually went away. And I talked to his mom, and she's like, he reads at home by himself. He just doesn't like reading out loud to people. And I cannot remember the name of the program now, of course, but where y'all bring in dogs and they can read to the dog one-on-one. And he did that for about a month and fell in love with this little tiny dog that he got to read to in a room by himself, and his confidence just spiked because of that one thing. That's a free resource that they can take advantage of. So just connecting our kids to things like that. And we have family literacy nights as well, so just providing opportunities for our families to come in and learn more about what they can do with their child at home. There's no cost for our program participants. It's completely free. And our capacity is through community volunteer tutors. So one of the many great things about our program is that beyond staff and wages, it's a very low cost program. So we can always serve as many students as we have volunteers for. That being said, as far as staffing goes, that's always staff capacity is our biggest issue. So expanding to new schools and new regions, and that is what we're looking to do with this funding for sure. But we can always serve as many students as we have volunteers for. So a little bit about our timeline. In the summer, if we receive this funding, summer of this year, we would activate our partnerships with MNPS and reach out to all the administration. July, August, this funding would support the leader of that site. So we'd have a program coordinator who would be running all of this. And so we'd post for that, work on volunteer recruitment. In September, the fall semester would begin. January, our spring semester would begin, and at the end of the cycle in June, we would begin formative assessments of Y literacy in the Donaldson-Hermitage area, measuring effectiveness of outcomes and program fidelity. So we do have very concrete data. We rely on MNPS testing. We work very closely with the schools, and those schools give us their tax levels. So they get tested 3 times a year, once at the beginning, once right before Christmas, and then once at the end of the year. We also, depending on our funding cycle, I know I'm running out of time, so I'm gonna run through this, but with our funding cycle, sometimes it doesn't line up with when they get tested through Metro, so then we'll test the students, but we always have a starting point and ending point for our kids. As far as the finances go, we are requesting $50,000. A little over $28,000 of that would go to fund this new program coordinator to supervise this site. Program supplies, just including books and everything that the tutors would need, at a little over $6,000. Technology, we do incorporate iPads into one section of our lesson. Program delivery, so staff training and all of that, and direct costs landing us right at $50,000. So return on investment, a minimum of 50 elementary age students in the Donaldson Hermitage area will increase their reading level. 50 new volunteers will be recruited and trained. Families will be provided with opportunities to engage with their children through workshops and family literacy nights. We will distribute books, and it also increases the number of third graders reading on grade level by 2025, part MNPS's strategic plan. And this is our team. Many of us are in the room, so you've met us, so I won't read through all of this. But this is our team that would be overseeing this new program over at the Donaldson Hermitage Y. And our launch plan, again, yes, out of time. No, you're totally fine. Timeline is the same. That's all. Questions?
All right, we have some questions.
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
I think they're all kind of related to recruiting the students.
Sure.
So you mentioned the relationship with Fun Company, but then I thought I understood that this was a Y-based program, like actually in the Y. So you can talk a little bit about how
Sure.
your students are recruited, how many students actually reach the 5 and 7 lesson threshold,
Right.
and what are the obstacles for them doing so?
Right. So we work really closely with the reading specialists at every school. So we have one really solid contact at all of the schools that we work with, whether it's the reading specialist or the vice principal or a teacher. They always recommend students for us. So they kind of assess who needs to be in the program and recommend them to us. Their parents can sign them up as well. We just have to communicate with the administration beforehand to make sure that they are a student who needs the service before they can enter the program. With Fun Company, so Fun Company is the after-school childcare site at all of these schools. They work closely with the administration as well, so we just kind of have an in to go in and work with those students who are already there, who we can kind of give. We always give the list of the role. Yeah, thank you. To the reading specialist, and they kind of identify which kids in the program need it the most. So then we work directly with them. We do have tutoring at the Y, and we also partner with the Edge Hill Library through the Bordeaux location, and they house the tutoring in the library and at the Y. So we're a little bit of everywhere. We're at the libraries, we're at the Y, and we're at the schools as well.
So a student might actually receive services during Fun Company time at the school rather than
Yes.
having to be transported to the Y?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
What
and there was
percent-
another question.
Just the percentage of kids who make it through that progression to the 5 and 7 lessons to
Yes.
to get those gains.
The majority of our students, so say we have a little over 200, the majority of those receive a minimum of 5 lessons, and we're at 87% right now for those who've received 7 or more who've increased by 2 levels, and we're at 83% for those who've received 5 or more and increased by 1 level.
So wait, just for me, for clarification, is the 87% the number of kids that have completed the 7, or is it the number of kids that have had 7?
Who've completed 7 lessons.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay. And of those, how many have reached the increased text level?
So the 87% our goal is to, if they've had 7 or more lessons, for them to increase 2 text levels. And so 87% of the 100 that we serve, they have increased by 2.
Okay.
Am I saying that right?
No, you reversed them.
I reverse switch.
The 5%, the 5 lessons is 87%.
Yes, sorry. So 5 lessons is 87%, 7 lessons is 83.
Of the
You said-
increase, but I guess my question is, of the kids that come for 1 lesson, what is the percentage of kids that actually make it through the 5? Regardless of what they do at the end.
I would say around 95% of our
Okay,
kids
so
make
it's
it that
a
far.
high-
We don't ever have really students who just come once. When they
Okay.
commit, they're committed for the semester.
Okay.
Mhm.
And we actually have incentives for the families, that if they come at least 5 times,
Yes.
that we provide an incentive for the family.
Okay, that's
In
good.
order to encourage the families to bring the children.
Right.
All right.
Yep, so when they sign on, they know that they're signing on for the semester, and they're guaranteed that spot for the semester. If they complete it, and it just depends, every kid's different. If they're so far below 1 semester, they're welcome to come back and complete another semester.
Are you finished with your question?
I mean, I can keep going.
Yeah. I just want to know I guess you kind of, are they the same kids that come from 1 semester to the other and then over the summer?
No,
Okay,
no, they're not. They're different.
okay.
How will you allocate, or you have 50 students in 5 schools, so how will you choose what students truly need the services? And I know in some of you all's programs you do them during the day at school, so is this all after-school hours?
It's all after school. So right when they get out of school at 3, we'll pull them and work with them from 3 to 4.
So how will you choose?
The ones who are the most in need. So it depends on the schools that have a higher percentage of kids that are in need. Because with those 5 schools, we couldn't have actual programming at all 5 of those schools. We could maybe have 2 or 3 with the hours that this new person could work. So with those other schools, we would offer it as you can come later to the Y and come at 5 or 6 Monday through Thursday.
Why could you not offer it all 5?
Just with our staff capacity, with the amount of funding that we're requesting, this position wouldn't be full-time. It would be part-time, so they'd be able to work the 27 and a half hours a
And if
week.
I can speak to, our volunteers aren't allowed to be one-on-one with the child, so our staff does have to be there and manage the group.
And you get information by child from MNPS?
Yes, from the schools, directly from the schools.
And how are the volunteers trained?
We train them, so when we train our college volunteers, we go out to the schools and they receive an hour-and-a-half long training, and we're there every time that tutoring is going on as well.
Do you find the needs of these K-4 students, I know reading recovery is pretty prescriptive, K-1.
Right.
Have you found that the needs of the older students are just so basic that the program applies?
It does. With a lot of our kids, even if they're in the 3rd grade, we have a ton of 3rd graders who are still reading on a kindergarten, 1st grade reading level. So it is tailored to the student. We have different options. Say they're in the 3rd grade, but they're reading on a 2nd grade level, they do something a little bit different. So their writing is a little bit more prescriptive. Their word work options are a little bit different. For the most, the reading sections kind of apply across the board, as well as comprehension. But when it comes to word work and writing, we do something a little bit different if they're reading at a higher level.
You broke down the 50,000 of all of those different line items. What's number 1 priority?
Staff. Staff. If we don't have that one staff person, we definitely couldn't run the program.
So it's a capacity issue.
It's a capacity issue for sure. And I would say, I mean, we always get a lot of questions, what's the hardest thing, like what's the biggest barrier for you? And for us, it's staff capacity. Because the demand is there. We know that the data shows that the kids need it. We have schools who hear that our other programs are running well and they contact us and want to start after school programs, and we don't necessarily have the capabilities to continue expansion until our staff increases. Any other questions?
Are we good? All right.
Awesome. Thank y'all so
you.
much.
Thank you
Thanks for
so
the opportunity.
much. All right. Take it away.
George Crook, I'm Development Director with Salon Urban Ministries.
Tiffany Harris, I'm the Program Assistant at Salon.
I'm Dominique Shanks, I'm the Academic Coordinator at Salon Urban Ministries. So we'll start with the video.
Okay.
Touch screen?
No.
It should be all there.
We do 3 things. We provide academic enrichment, we provide performing arts instruction, and we also do spiritual development.
Open the water rises, you built a wall. Open the crowd screams out, screaming your name.
Typically our day here at Salon, we start with our children getting off the bus, they get their name tags, we welcome them, they get a chance to eat a hot meal. Then afterwards, they have an opportunity to work on their homework along with volunteers who come in and they assist them with their reading and math first and then other science as well.
You can know, you give it all you have.
After that, they then go into their actual academic classes. On Tuesdays it's reading, on Thursdays it's math, and then on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays it's performing arts and life application.
Volunteers a great deal, and our partnerships help us to advance our mission as well.
Life application is essential to who we are at Salon. It is a Christ-centered curriculum. our children every day pray together, and they testify to one another, and we testify to each other about what we're going through and how our faith is enabling us to walk successfully through various experiences.
The arts helps you to gather a lot of information that you can apply in your history courses, in your writing, in your reading, in your math, in your sciences. The whole gambit is a perfect marriage. Through a song or through a movement motif of dance and in the spoken word, it can touch their lives, help them get through no matter what challenges they may be going through.
Ultimately, when we do the three things that we do here at Enrollment, it's because of a wonderful, wonderful staff team that goes above and beyond anything that we could ever expect and ever put on a performance review that makes the difference in the life of a child. We're excited about being able to do that, and we hope that that comes across in all of the wonderful things that you see our kids doing on a daily basis.
So that just gives you a brief context of who we are as a whole. Obviously, we've written a grant for reading, for a particular reading program, but wanted just for you to see kind of a context of where we do that program then. This reading program that we're proposing, we're doing programming and reading in the school year on both Mondays and Tuesdays. And then it will be daily in the summer. We're proposing to serve at least 75 students up to 100. Another thing to note, currently, we have actually at least 50% of our enrolled students already are K through third graders, so we think this is a great fit. And we serve up to, primarily in the school year, up to 8th grade students. We'll be getting reading programming as well. And we have wonderful partnerships with Belmont University. We also have work with teachers that you're going to hear about, and we have some things in place where we monitor where the students are, where we want them to go. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Dominique, our academic coordinator, to give you a little more detail.
Thank you, George. Like George is saying, so that was an overview, and then I'll break down just what we do for reading. And so Mondays and Wednesdays are our performing art days, but we also have a homework time. So every day when our students come in, they have a hot meal, and then they go right into homework time from about 3:30 to 4:30. And during that time, if they don't have homework, which a lot of our K through third graders come in, they're like, I already did it, or I don't have any. So we individually have a folder for them that they will pick up when in their homework class. And so what we do in that folder, Mondays and Tuesdays, it's reading centered. And then the other 2 days, it's math centered. And so on Mondays and Tuesdays, it's just geared towards, student A. If they're struggling with contractions, then we have more sheets on contractions and activities that they can do either on their own or with a tutor during that homework time to focus and really help them get a better understanding of contractions. And so that's what we do during homework time on Mondays, and then they go into their performing art classes. And then like George said, we have an amazing partnership with Dr. Joy Kimmons from Belmont University with her educational psychology class. And so they are with us all day on Tuesday. They get in around 3 o'clock. Some of them hang out with their students as they eat and just check in, how are you doing? Or they're preparing for their tutoring time. And on Tuesdays they have a specific reading folder with their Belmont tutor, and so it's very geared towards what the tutor has noticed over the school year or the semester, because every semester it changes. And so the tutor will say, they're struggling with a few sight words. Can we do sight word games? So it's very specific and individualized folder. Some of our students need to work on reading comprehension, and so their folders have those activities in them as well, and they get to do that with their Belmont student. And the great thing is we have like an evaluation sheet that the Belmont student will then bring to me, like fill out, and then I read over to see what worked, what didn't work, what they need more of, or can we not sit and read, but can you give us an activity where they're moving around, or the Belmont student will just take ownership and say, I thought this would be great for today, so this is what I did, is that okay? And I mean, we love partnering, and like you said, it's a partnership, so definitely, like you this is your hour with the student, so I love to see them come in and say like, I brought this for my student today, and so that's a wonderful partnership. From that time after homework, so then we go to class time from 4:30 to 5:30, and on Tuesdays the Belmont students then disperse into our classes and are actually like additional support in the classrooms. And since on our reading days and on our math days as well, but we are center focused, so in our K through second are together, and then our 3rd through 8th graders are together, so they're about 2 minutes. Okay, so thank you. There's different centers that are phonics, writing, sight word focus, reading comprehension, or independent reading, and then there's a Belmont tutor or a Salama teacher that is there with them, walking them through the steps. Normally it's either small group or one-on-one is how we do that. Another thing that we really push is just reading and getting our students to love reading. Like a lot of us love to read, and we just want to implement that to them as well, just a love for reading. So we have a lot of opportunities for students to do either small group reading or just a silent time of reading if they so wish, if homework is finished. And so there's that. In addition, we are partnering with Alignment Nashville with and with Nashville Public Library to do a summer reading challenge component with our summer program this year, and it's really exciting. We did it last year, but without partnership, and this year we're actually partnering with the Nashville Public Library, and so we have a teacher that is actually just planning all of our lessons towards the summer reading challenge with Nashville Public Library. So I'm really excited about it, and it's great. I believe that's, yeah.
You've got like 40 more seconds.
The only other thing I'd mention is we do every spring, we do a reading month. It's our reading challenge, and students read books and it encourages them, we make it fun, and we have been using a program called bookadventure.com. So we have books that we either purchase or volunteers give us, and we can track them in that system, and then it measures their comprehension. If they finish the book, we make it fun. We have a reading room. They can win things like pizza parties, skating, and they really love it. So that's a way that we still enjoy reading as well.
Okay. What questions do we have?
I have 2 questions for you. You spoke about having a folder if your students don't actually have homework. How do you determine the needs for each student since you individualize it?
So like Dewana said, we have an amazing staff, and our staff are just on point. So we have staff that are in different classes, so during our homework time, they may not be with their actual classroom teacher, but even that staff is watching and doing one-on-one, and even when tutors watching like what the needs are, what the struggles are, as well as we'll ask a classroom teacher, like how are they doing, how is so-and-so doing with this, and so between that staff person who's in the homework room and then the classroom teacher, we come together, and because like through that, and then also the partnership we have with their actual teachers with Metro, we also just all of us, like the support system, come together to see what our students' needs are. And it seems like a lot, but it actually works really well when we're on it, and it's amazing what our staff does. Yes.
Kind of following up with that, do you all you assess the students at different points during the year?
Yes. So sorry I didn't bring that. We do a pre-assessment and a post-assessment with the basic reading inventory, and so that is just it's to overall just to see where our students are with reading and reading comprehension. And so how that it's a one-on-one, normally with me or with another instructor, and we sit with our students and they have passages to read and then questions to go through, and we just kind of we start at their grade level, and then if we need to fall below or above, we just keep going until they're at like a complete frustrating moment where they're like, I'm done, and then we base like where they are on that. So it's a BRI that we use.
Oh, I was going to ask about the teacher partnership. How does that work? How do you y'all communicate, or do they give you assessments or data on the students?
So the metro teacher, right? Yes, so Miss Tiffany and I mean, she's amazing. Between the two of us, so we have a waiver, so we get our students' report cards as they come. Miss Tiffany will let me know, like, hey, it's report card day, just make sure that we get report cards from all of our students. They'll gripe about it, but they know that it's coming, and so I'll get a copy from Miss Tiffany and myself, and then from there, if we notice, we look at just their math score and their grade and their reading grade, and from there we'll talk to teachers like, oh, we noticed that like student B is struggling in this area. What are the actual struggles? And so that'll start with an email, and then I've gone in and done a conference with the teacher during their planning period, or we'll do a phone conference call as well, and just we stay in touch like that throughout the year.
What are the results so far for this year?
We have some really good results. We were actually just talking about it on the way here. One of our students started off the year with a C and has brought up his ELA grade to an A, and it's just amazing that we see a lot of students, like their confidence has grown in their reading and also reading in small groups, and so a lot of that, and the teachers also are appreciative, so they know that, you know, it's just not them and the whole like burden of getting the student to improve is on them, but they know that they have an after school program that student goes to, and so it's a great partnership. We see a lot of good results, even if the students are sometimes like, why are you talking to my teacher? Why are you always at my school? You know, I let them know, like, it's because I love you and we support you, and we want you to know that we want you to succeed, and so we have seen some really good results from that.
We have our post-test will occur till May, but last year, 75% of our school year students showed improvement in reading based on the BRI testing.
And how long do they stay with you? I mean, do most kids
Typically,
continue?
they're, you mean like in a day?
No,
Or
I
like
mean
just
over
the retention rate.
Yeah.
So, you know, our retention rate, do you you have a guess on percentages of students? I mean, obviously we have a lot of students transients. I mean, in the sense that, especially with things like affordable housing, things, you have students moving, things like that. So it's probably not where I'd want it to be, but I would probably say, you know, students that stay year after year, you know, maybe in the 40 to 50% range. And then obviously for those students that stay with us longer, when they start younger and they stay till high school, you know, we've seen some phenomenal things that occur. So we really try to do that. The other thing that we're doing though is recognizing that, you know, with the challenges the students have and just the changes in our city and where we're located, we're trying to partner with other organizations so we can refer them to, because a parent might say, hey, I've got to move to a different part of the city. And so particularly our CEO has been in youth development for years, and so she just constantly is building a network, and she'll sit down with the parent and say, hey, this is a good program, can I make a call to you to get an introduction? We trust them, we think they'll do good work. So
this all takes place in one space?
Correct. So we're right on 8th Avenue, right next to W.O. Smith Music School.
And we have 2 buildings that we use for classrooms.
Is that it? Any more questions? Good? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is wonderful.
Thank you for your time.
I so appreciate your time.
Thank
We'll
you.
all in touch. Very nice.
So we bring you greetings from King's Daughters. We are very appreciative of you having us today so we can share a little bit more about our proposal. So King's Daughters is a Reggio-inspired center. We're located in the heart of Madison. And this, I just wanted to give you a quick overview of our team, many of who are here today. These are the guys that will carry out the proposal that we have for you. I'm Candy Good, I'm the executive director. Alice over here is our curriculum coordinator. Ro here in the middle is our shy one of the group. She is our instructional coach. Julie is our associate director. And Lee here on the end is our infant toddler coordinator. We have a separate building of infant and toddlers. So, why did we present this to you? We feel that there is a very critical need for training for parents and children and for our educators. So today we want to give you a very brief little snapshot of why we want to do this and the reasons behind that. And I'm going to hand it over to Bill Pridemore. Bill is our council person for our 9th district, and he'll talk to you just a little bit.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Bill Pridemore, District 9, Madison. When they asked that I speak, I just immediately said yes, because I just wanted to show how supportive I am, and the community is to King's Daughter. King's Daughter's been around for decades, 50-something years, and as a matter of fact, there's been one of my colleagues in District 10 who actually attended King's Daughter when he was growing up. Madison is a community that is always been in desperate need of more educational opportunities, and King's Daughter supply that in a very large scale, and we're very supportive of them and want to have the opportunity anytime we can support them do. King's Daughter, again, has been around for decades, but one of the things I want to express about their literacy, wanting to create their literacy program, is I just recently attended I guess a viewing from public schools where they have a program that requires millions of dollars in funding for reading recovery, which is something that it's basically trying to catch the students up to the level they should be in, which is a very effective program, but it's costing millions of dollars to do that. And by creating this program that they're initiating, I think it would really maybe offset some of that, maybe make these children, the students, more successful, and ideally eliminate reading recovery as something that needs to be funded and to help the students get to where they are. As we all know that the learning process for children begins now. We're learning just recently, I have anyway, that begins from birth to age 3. So the earliest time that we could expose our children to the learning process and literary process, the better. So I think that would definitely help. And also, I think there's a program, part of this program is involving educating the parents. And that is also a tool I think that really help. There's so many now. In my career as a law enforcement, I've met so many parents who basically utilize the schools to not only educate their children, but to teach their children, basic day-to-day chores or that they're going to experience in their life. So I think through this, if you're educating the parents at this early level, that not only it'll give them the expertise, but also the confidence to do that, not only just being a parent and provider, but also assist in educating and knowing the right direction to send their children. And then, of course, before you can do all that, you have to have adequate teachers and teachers with the ability to complete that task. And I think with part of their program is involving teaching the professional development for the teachers. So if teachers are doing it right, students will learn quicker, as you well know, and then and also the parents. So again, I just want to say how much we appreciate King's Daughter and how they've really helped Madison community. As you know, a lot of Madison community is lower income bracket, and they've been very, very gracious in accepting children and educating them and preparing them for their career or their life in the school system. So just want to thank you.
All right, I'm going to segue right into this because he did touch on building community for families and the importance of educating parents. I'm going to just kind of speak from my heart because this is more than just a proposal. It really, for us, is really a mission. And this is something we have been involved in helping parents and teachers
educators, community, really start at an early age working with their children. You'll see some pictures here that involve. These are some of the parents we've worked with thus far, and I've had the privilege of being that person that's involved with them. And I wanted to share, I felt like I wanted to share a couple stories with you. We have Sierra, okay? Sierra had a very difficult family situation, very unstable, very toxic, and dangerous. And she came to King's Daughters, and she started becoming involved with our family engagement, our workshops, and our sessions. Of course, she opened up to us, and we were able to give her some additional support that would, but she has, I said, you know, Sarah, what difference did this make for you? And she said, now that I have a son, Aiden, who went through the program, and she was all involved in the workshops, she says, I feel like I can better speak for him in the school district. I feel like I can help him do his homework. I feel like I'm more equipped because of the trainings that she attended at King's Daughters. And now I will be happy to say her son had some behavioral issues, some different difficulties because of their background, and it's stabilized. She's able to advocate for her child, as well as we have Copeland coming on up through the reins as well, and he's doing very well, and he's going to be quite ready for kindergarten. I have another parent that really spoke to my heart as well, because she's here, her and her husband and her daughter, and they're from another country, and they do not, they do not have any family support at all. And so she said for her, it's about being around, getting some advice, having a network of people to work with them and get advice. She even told me, she says, you know, Miss Rowe, I did take your advice. I'm like, wow, really? And just about setting schedule, reading to her child at home, doing those things that she may not have known to do prior than having some training and some education. And right now, believe it or not, and this is not status quo, this is not what we push, but Donna's 4 and she is actually reading. And not that that's what we shoot for, but because of how much her parent now is involved in her education. So with the climate of what's going on in our world right now, I think the benefit is creating more of a safe place for our children. And I think as parents become more and more involved and learn how to do that from an early age on and being involved with their children and their education and can speak for them, the safer the child will feel and will become more successful in school. Thank you.
Oh, sure. My clicker over here. I'm Julie. Hi. I'd like to segue on into building community for teachers as well. Building a community for parents is one of the essential things about the proposal that we've given you. Also building a community for teachers, not just a community of teachers in our own center, but a community of teachers in the Davidson County area. Building community among teachers only goes as far as a center's purse strings will reach. For many of our centers, maybe there's a few in Davidson County that can, ma'am?
This time.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Well, anyway.
Okay, well, you'll have time to talk about some things, because we have questions, so you get a little more time. Does anybody have initial? I have just a clarification.
Sure.
So the money that you asked for, is it for one conference or 2 conferences?
It's for one teacher conference and one parent conference, family conference.
And do you already, I think you said that you do have some workshops that already exist?
We do. We offer at King's Daughters this school year. We have DHS has approved 3 of our trainings, and we offer that out to other schools in the area, and they can sign up to come. Now, those are paid trainings. That's sort of a revenue for our center, what we're running this year.
And these would not be paid?
No.
What are some other, I can keep going. And so for the the parents, obviously, you are attracting the parents whose children are part of your program.
Currently we are, but we wish to reach out to Davidson County parents and families.
Okay.
And so we would do that through our network of, we have many networks within centers in Davidson County. So we would get the word to them, to spread to their parents, to let them know this is a free offering, sign up, and, you know.
So would you consider taping this so that others?
Oh, sure.
And what's your maximum, like what's your dream attendance for both of these?
100 for the families,
Okay.
and 200 for the teachers, educators.
And I swear I'm going to stop so you guys be thinking of other questions. So how does this differ? I know that NAEUIC has conferences, the Child Care Resource and Referral have workshops. So how is this different?
It's different, one, in AEYC and TACE do have conferences in the area, but you have to pay a pretty dollar to go to them.
Okay.
And you will get a discount to go to them if you are members of their organization.
But you also have to pay to be a member of the organization.
Right. So that's a cost that the centers have to bear, and sometimes their budgets just can't bear it. And CCR&R is a marvelous group, but their budget has been cut so much that they cannot offer as many trainings as they used to offer, and it's just fewer and far between.
There's virtually nothing much being offered in Davidson County through CCR&R right now. There are other counties where they're providing some free workshops, but really virtually nothing in Davidson, very little.
So 2 questions, Candy. If you had to prioritize the educator, or the parent, how would you prioritize if we could only fund one initiative? Would you prioritize educators or parents? And then is any of the educator work aligned to the mayor's pre-K quality standard work that's also going on, or is it totally it's not targeting the same thing?
We're targeting literacy and early brain development in our educators, and both of them really is what we're wanting to target.
Prior to pre-K?
Yes. And that's all hard.
I know.
And I think I might say educators, because the educators could in turn offer something for families, which could grow it that way.
And the more educators you can reach, the greater impact you would have, because those educators are working with 15 children in this classroom and 15 children in that classroom, which impacts 15 families.
Have you measured that impact in the past?
We measure it through our family engagement series. Now, on a wide scale, we haven't done that.
And what do you get from your family engagement series? What are the results?
Results are that, as Ro mentioned, they just really value that time to come together, to talk, to meet other parents, to learn skills. So many of our families did not have pleasant school experiences. So therefore, they're a little afraid of school, and they don't like to, anyway. So this gives them ease. They know they can learn the tools. What do they need to help their children? And how can they walk through the doors of that school and advocate for their children?
It's also a safe forum for our parents to ask questions in a comfortable setting where they trust people, which goes along with what Candy's saying, and a chance for them to actually become a part of a community. We had a core group of parents last year that came to pretty much every workshop that we were presenting in the afternoons, and they just became a wonderful community of learners and just fellowshipping together and bringing their children to some were only for parents.
And how do you accommodate non-English speakers?
Translators. We do have a staff person also that is fluent. Two now. Yes. Yes.
Who would facilitate your trainings and what resources would take for your educator training?
For our educator training, Ro and I would be the co-chairs of the conference, and then we would work with our partners. TACE and Bookham have agreed to be partners. The Madison Community Center has agreed to be a partner so that we can house it. And so we would just pull all of our resources together from all of our networks that we have across.
Would this be all day, weekend,
Yes.
or after hours?
The educator training would be a 6-hour day for them, which would get them half of their required training hours. Yes.
So the outcomes that you've listed in that'll be determined by a survey, so a self-report from a survey, okay.
How long is the parent conference or workshop?
It's about a half a day training for them. And we actually are hoping to hold that on our National Literacy Day.
Is the 200 for educators facility limitations or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I was like, I could see the demand for free half credit hours.
Oh,
yes.
yes. Mm-hmm.
So we will, have we?
It would be first come, first served who signed up, yes. And what we would hope is that several centers would be able to, if you plan enough ahead, if they have enough time to plan, then we are hoping to have it on November 11th, which is Veterans Day. So if a center shuts their center for that day, they are still eligible to get certificate payments for their children because it's considered a holiday. So many times centers just can't shut down because they lose lots of revenue when they do that. So, we're trying to accommodate as much as we can.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
Well, good morning. My name is Courtney Aldridge, and I serve as Executive Director of Project Transformation, and we are so thankful for the opportunity to present to you this morning. Project Transformation provides evidence-based summer and after-school programs for children here in Davidson County that focus on both literacy development and social-emotional learning. So strategically leading these programs are college-age young adults who commit a summer or year-round internship with PT. These young adults not only are facilitating the learning for our children, but they are building developmental relationships with our kids, really serving as the glue for our impact in literacy and social-emotional health. We are really proud of the growing impact we have in Davidson County. Since we were founded in 2012, we have served more than 2,000 children. 99% of these children have increased or maintained their reading level through our programs, with a full 85% increasing their reading level through Project Transformation. We're also, as part of the literacy community, really excited about the blueprint for early childhood success. Our board and our staff, we've been studying it over the past couple of months and already see natural alignment with Pillar 5, but we also see opportunities for us to complement the work around Pillar 4 and Pillar 6 as well. I want to introduce Sokolowski now, who will share a little bit more about our intervention. Our solution that we are proposing is to stem summer learning and strengthen reading skills for 400 Davidson County students, grades 1 through 8, through our summer and our after-school programs. So our Director of Programming, will share more.
So our summer and after-school programs are truly designed to remove poverty-related barriers to education. And so you'll see on this next slide, we kind of take a three-pronged approach to this. So we know literacy is crucial. If a child can read, they can do anything. But we also believe that we have to lift up these two other components as well, if we are truly going to equip our children with the literacy skills they need to be successful. So we also focus on social emotional health in our programs. That means that we teach our kids to recognize, first and foremost, what they're feeling, where that is in their body, and then how to respond appropriately. So we teach them ways to cool down, ways to have restorative conversations with the children around them that they might be having conflict with. And we really shy away from the punitive approach to things. We want kids in our program and not out of it. We also lift up developmental relationships, knowing that children need those positive mentoring relationships. So like Courtney said, we use young adults to run our programs, hoping that these young adults serve as mentors for our children. But we also have volunteers who come every day to read one-on-one with our children, to also serve as those mentors. So we know children who are in a mentoring relationship are more than 50% more than 50% more likely to be mentors themselves one day and to graduate from high school. So we recognize the importance of all three of these things in our programs. So what that looks like in our programs, in the mornings, our kids read for 40 minutes one-on-one with those volunteers that come. This is typically where they can choose any book that they'd like. That's on the reading level that we've assessed them at. They're reading, they're building relationship, having conversations about the books that they're reading, working on those comprehension skills. And then for our lower level readers that we've identified, they're doing some targeted interventions. So again, through that pre-assessment, we're able to see what skills these lower readers really need to be working on, giving them those 5 components that they need in order to be strong readers. So working on phonics, phonemic awareness, comprehension, vocabulary, a lot of which are just even starting at letters and sounds as well. Throughout the rest of our day, our curriculum that we use is literacy bedded. So through every activity we're doing, we're wanting our kids to be somehow focusing on literacy. So whether that's presenting the drawing that they did to their friends, that's writing about it, through our arts and physical activity, we're always trying to tie back in those literacy pieces. So in the summer, our kids receive 24 hours a week of intervention. So we run for 8 weeks in the summer, Monday through Thursdays, 9 to 3 p.m. And then after school, they receive 12 hours of intervention a week. So September through April, Monday through Thursday, 3 to 6 p.m. And then a little bit about our students. Who do we serve? So we're at 4 locations in Nashville: Antioch, East Nashville, Madison, and West Nashville. West Nashville being a summer-only program. And then our participants, 77% qualify for government assistance. We give priority qualification for that. And 62% have attended PT programs previously. So that's ideal for us. We want students to be in our elementary program, moving to our middle school program, one day a high school program, and coming back themselves as interns one day to serve their communities. So really this full circle model. And then as far as race goes, 45% of our children are Hispanic and 42% are African American. So about 50-50 there. Yeah, and I'm going to introduce Carrie. Carrie is our Director of Development.
So I'll talk a little bit about our impact. So through these year-round programs, we will be serving 400 children in our community through the summer and after-school program. Of our regularly attending participants, we know that 85% of those who attend will maintain or improve their reading levels with us. Additionally, 60% of the children that regularly attend our program will express an increased interest in reading and the activities related to reading. And one of the ways that we do that, we know that it's important for kids to be reading at home and to be building their own at-home libraries. So through our program, we give 1,500 books to the children within our programs to start building up their own library so that they can start reading with their kids. We measure all of this through pre- and post-program surveys and assessments. As Ali discussed, we do pre-program assessments for our children to figure out where they fall within this 9-level guided reading level. And then throughout the program, we monitor that as they're reading with volunteers and through our interns, and update as they increase through our program, and then do a final assessment at the very end. And then we also do those pre and post surveys for our children to get those. So that is largely what our program is. To run this year-round program here in Nashville, our operating cost is $413,135. That's largely supported through individuals, foundations, and organizations. And we are respectfully requesting $50,000 from the Community Partnership Fund to help us with this program. We know that you guys are talking to a lot of organizations and seeing a lot of presentations today, so we are thankful for your time, and we are looking forward to what questions you may have for us. So that's it. It's less than 10, if that's all right.
Good morning. I'm sorry. What assessment is used when you assess your students?
Yeah, so our assessment is through the Teachers College Reading and Writing, so it's a guided reading assessment, running records, closely aligned with Fountas and Pinnell.
And who administers those assessments?
So we have former educators that we train on these assessments that come and do them at each of our sites.
And one last question. Do you all train your interns in the summer?
Yes. Mm-hmm. We do a week-long training.
So our interns go through a week-long training prior to service that's focused on a lot of the things that we talked about today. We're actually working with the library right now to bring in the Bringing Books to Life program to this, but they're also focused on CPR, first aid, developmental relationships, restorative practice. Other questions?
About the assessment, how often do you assess your students?
So in our summer program, we assess them at the beginning of the summer and again at the end of the summer. And in the after-school program, we assess them at the beginning of the after-school program, mid-year, and again at the end.
And then we're also doing some pretty consistent process evaluation. So we have more than 1,000 volunteers who serve with us during the summer program. And after each reading session, our volunteers will make notes in each child's folder about whether their reading was too difficult, whether the book was just right, whether it was too easy. And our interns look at that each day and make assessments on whether or not to move them to a different level.
Do you all ever compare the assessments that you all do throughout the school year with their assessments given at school?
So we are just beginning a process with Metro Schools to share data. So we ask parents if we're allowed to share data. In the after-school program, we receive report cards and all of that for children, so we're tracking that. But we're excited to continue a partnership with Metro Schools to figure out how we can streamline our kind of evaluating our children's progress.
In your 85%, you lump together those who increase or maintain. Break that out. How many increase?
So 99% of our kids increase or maintain, 85% increase. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And you mentioned guided reading, but what curriculum is serve as the foundation for your for this program?
So Project Transformation is modeled off of an AmeriCorps-based organization in Dallas, Texas. So we're part of a national collaborative, and we actually have a national curriculum writer who writes this curriculum based off of Castle.
Okay, thank you.
So the $50,000, you have your salaries and wages. Is that staff salary and wages, or do the mentors get a stipend?
So our interns receive, we pay them, so in the summer, our interns receive a $2,000 pay, and then in the after school, it's $11,500.
Okay.
So that will largely support that intern piece of what we're doing. But then the staff salary that is part of that salary and wages line are those that are direct program salaries. So it's divided by all of the programs that we do.
Okay, and the timing is awkward because these things are going to go to the mayor's office in April. Their budget doesn't come out. We've had this conversation, I think, when we presented to the group.
Yes.
And so you've thought about that. So depending on when this money comes, if we're working specifically for the summer program, I don't know what to say about that. So the money will be late coming for summer, is what I'm guessing.
Yes.
Okay.
And so I think the hope with having this Nashville full program of this our year round, that allows for if, I know as we had talked in that meeting that maybe things wouldn't be until August. And so that way it can also support this after school program so that we're doing year round intervention with our kids in Nashville, Davidson County.
And you might have just said this, but how do you connect with the families as well? Or mostly just intervention with the kids?
Yeah, so in order to make a successful impact on our kids, we recognize that we need to be working with families as well. We strategically house our programs inside churches in neighborhoods where our kids live. And so in doing so, we really are seeking to provide holistic wraparound support for our families, especially during the after-school program. We're working with families to really try to serve as a liaison between our families and our local schools. So our interns are going to IEP meetings, they're talking with families to help them to understand opportunities that they have at home to be supportive of their children's learning. We also have family fun nights throughout the summer and the after-school program. So these are basically big community block parties where our families come together with our interns and our volunteers to celebrate the great work that's being done by our kids and to focus on some family literacy opportunities.
And okay, keep on going here. Do you track any outcomes for the mentors themselves? Because they're young people and might be their first.
We do. So we track leadership development, leadership skills, as well as continued service in low-income communities. Specifically, we also track 5 years out vocation that our interns are going into, and we're really excited that more than half of our interns are going into a service-related vocation. And so that is part of our mission as well, is to help raise up young leaders. And this year actually is the very first year that we actually have a PT kid from West Nashville who's at Trevecca and serving as a PT intern themselves. So that really is the greater vision. And we're planting seeds of college and post-secondary throughout the programs.
And I don't remember seeing this in the proposal, and I apologize if it is, but could you tell me where your 4 locations are? I know they're Madison, East Nashville, Antioch, West, but where are y'all housed specifically?
In each neighborhood. So in Madison, it's at Matthews Memorial United Methodist across from Amqui Elementary School. In Antioch, we're really close to Cole Elementary on Tusculum Road. In West Nashville, we are hanging on in the Nations off of New York Avenue. And then in East Nashville, we're at Trinity United Methodist Church, really close to Schwab Elementary, Trinity Lane.
Thank you. Why is the West only summer? Other programs are year-round.
We would really love to offer an after-school program at every location. We are trying to seek funding to make that possible.
Do you have anything else? Let me just make sure I've got everything I need. With less funding, there would just be less mentors funded? Do I understand that correctly?
Yes, I mean, our program, we work with our board of directors to help us find funding. And so if this didn't come through, it's something that we would work with them to make sure that we found alternative routes to take so that we're still able to provide this program, because we don't want to necessarily scale back. So we try to do everything we can to make sure that we find that funding necessary to keep going. But yeah.
All right. Anything else? We good? Thank you so much.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Hope it continues to go well.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm Anisha Lindsay, the Executive Director of East Nashville Hope Exchange, and I welcome you to our agency presentation. I'll get started. Okay, so the purpose of our proposal, our mission is to strengthen the literacy of at-risk children in East Nashville. Our purpose, of course, is to leverage our resources along with other available community resources to contribute to the 3 overarching pillars as outlined in the Blueprint for Early Childhood Success, which we are having the most focus in literacy rates from early childhood to 3rd grade, and then also maximizing summer out-of-school time and summertime. We commit to services for 100 students, so we have a goal of serving 100 students, prioritizing the East Nashville area, but of course we get so many applications from around Nashville, so if they aren't in the East Nashville area, they do go to a waiting list, and as the families, may not be able to come to the program, we pull from the waiting list accordingly. Excuse me. Of course, our whole purpose is to avoid summer learning loss through participating in EAG. So when they participate in our program, we are pretty much combating the summer slide, which is most profound in kids of low income status in their families. Although our program serves more than low income students, it's a priority for us because in the area we serve, we do have a high rate of low income students. Like I said before, to better maximize out of school time, we're doing projects in the summer program. We offer after school tutoring during the school year. We do family engagement workshops. So all during the out of school time, we're providing them with enrichment, instruction, activities, and a lot of arts and humanities projects as well. Share our best practices. So during the summer, we have been known to be one of the few programs in Nashville that operate at such a high level of instruction. And we'll get more to it in the presentation, but we do pre and post assessments. So a lot of the community partners, call us to see what methods are you using, how are you getting the results you get. It's because we're using verifiable assessments and we measure the gains of the students during the summer. Form partnerships, again, we have community partnerships for all of our programs, and we'll talk more about them, but for some, Nashville Public Library, Bringing Books to Life, Bookum, Flower Pot Press donating books for our Book of Day program. Each kid gets about 30 books during the summer program. Every day a new book to take home to build their home libraries. Okay, so the problem we plan to solve, we do know literacy is the bedrock upon which all academic learning is built upon. So without literacy, other subjects, you are sure to struggle in, because in math you have reading, different science you have to read to know the experiments, etc. So in 2004, St. Anne's Volunteers started a program where they recognized a huge problem in East Nashville. Again, a lot of the kids are underprivileged in the area. So they started with an outreach program just to give them something to do in the summer. Well, when they did that, they noticed that a lot of the kids were reading below grade level. So then they started with an intensive focus on literacy. And so they became a separate nonprofit as the need grew exponentially in the area, because a lot of kids, as it is now, a lot of people are applying. There are a lot of struggling readers in that area. 79% of the third and fourth graders in East Nashville are not reading on grade level. Of course, in our district, 2 out of 3 third graders are reading below grade level. So we noticed the problem being a very significant problem across our city, as well as in the area who we are prioritizing this program for. Our target schools are Hattie Cotton, Warner, Enhanced Option School, Kip Kirkpatrick, Glenn, Cotwell, and Ross. So this is where we do the bulk of our recruitment from. Just like I said, because these schools are classified as low-income schools, and a lot of them are having kids that are not reading on grade level. So our proposed solution to the problem, a 3-pronged approach to combating low literacy rates, and we do that with the Intensive Literacy Summer Program for 6 weeks, 35 hours of contents in the mornings. We use it for literacy instruction, individualized groupings, reading according to their grade level, and then in the evening it's more of the afternoon enrichment, the arts, humanities, art integration program. Like I said before, one of the only literacy intensive programs at this level of instruction, because we're hiring certified teachers, and we have teachers assistants. The ratio to student to teacher is 6 to 1. Again, after school tutoring twice a week during the school year, monthly family engagement workshops. At these workshops, we are running 2 concurrent sessions where kids are with the certified teacher as well as the parents. And during that session, we are giving parents the tools and equipment that they need to be able to better serve their kids at home. A lot of the parents that we serve, they may be illiterate, they may have dropped out of school. So we are acting as that wraparound resource if they need help. And then we're acting as a resource if they don't know how to help their children with word problems. We're having people come in and facilitate workshops, provide hands-on activities, give them resources to take home with them. Excuse me. Low-income students are a priority, but again, it's not a qualification for the program. So while they're prioritized, we still serve students, a small percentage that may be just a struggling reader, may have dyslexia, or some other type of learning problem. So we closely align with many of the 6 pillars, of course, again, specifically with stemming the tide on summer reading loss and better maximizing out-of-school time. So again, all of these projects, all of these things to better maximize the out-of-school time that children will spend when the most loss occurs in a child's development. The program content was developed in conjunction with Vanderbilt's Peabody School of Education. Years ago, we have several board members from Vanderbilt on our program committee, and they kind of helped us really lay out the structure and program model of our program. And it's the approach where we have the integrated program with literacy instruction and then the arts and humanities portion coming together to better, maximize the results of literacy. In our program, we have a formal contract and consultation. We do this because a lot of the problem in reading is because of the absenteeism from students at school. So we do this talk work with parents if they want to apply. Because it is a highly sought after program, we do consult with them and we let them know these are the guidelines, these are the things you have to commit to, and it's not just something for the summer, it's a year-round program. So while we help them gain results in the summer, we travel with them throughout the school year to keep track of those results. We're talking to the family involvement specialists, we're calling the parents, what resources do you need? How can we better serve you as an organization? Pre and post assessment. So pre and post assessments, when the kids come, we assess them in 4 areas of literacy. Our goal is that they pass or make gains in 3 areas out of the 4 important levels of literacy, and that's phonemic awareness, fluency, comprehension, and sight word reading. So if they pass in 3 of those areas, we see it as a positive result. They have made some type of gain during the summer. They did not regress, and that's our main goal, is for them to stay where they are or not regress during the summer. The program is free, but we do have one $30 enrollment fee, and we do this typically because the audience we serve, we feel like they, we want to get the enrollment fee, but it gives them some type of buy-in into the program. Typically when a program is just free, people tend not to take it seriously. So if they have put something into the program and they are getting the contract and things like that, they are understanding that this is something I'm committed to. I have some value in the program, and they better want to, before they get accustomed to the program, they may not be so invested in the education of their children, but once they go through and they see the results, they are better to say, I don't mind paying the $30. This is what I've invested in for the summer. So we've seen great results with that. Okay, so the target audience, Hope Exchange seeks to bridge the achievement gap facing students living in poverty compared to their more affluent peers. So we know that in East Nashville is very diverse. One end of Woodland Street, you may have the kids who are attending Laughlin. The other end is the kids who are at Warner, who might not be, so as affluent as their other peers. So we want to make sure that gap is closed by providing them access to a high quality program. Also, fun activities in the summertime. Of course, the program is packed with enrichment, but then we also do things like water play and other things that they will get to have a fun summer as well. 100 students from those target schools, 94% of those students are low income. So like I said, a large portion is low income, but we do have those other kids who we invite that could serve as a model to those students to show them how reading is fun and things like that. So those kids who aren't as struggling as the other ones who are reading below grade level but still need some intervention during the summertime. Okay, so we help at-risk students learn to read in the formative learning reading years K-3. Most programs don't offer services to pre-K. We offer to them to pre-K rising kindergarten students because we feel like if you get tackled early, then they're more likely to be reading on grade level by 3rd grade. So the earlier you intervene, the more success rate we probably will see out of the child. And we want to get them ready for the read to learning years, which is, of course, 2nd through 4th grade, where they're reading to learn, reading to answer questions, that type of thing. There's a direct correlation between our target audience and our design solutions. So before we were just serving 1st through 4th grade, but then we saw that maybe if we started earlier. So we then changed the program in 2015 to start accepting students who were in pre-K. Then we formed a partnership with Ross Early Learning Center, and since then we've been hosting the program there.
That's time. Sorry. Time.
Is that time?
That is time.
Okay.
Is it 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Time flies, we're having fun.
Wow.
But you'll have 10 more minutes because we're going to ask some questions. So, okay. Anybody want to shoot out the first question?
Assessments. I know you all do pre and post. What is the assessment that you all use?
We use, for the fluency, we use a fluency by Edward Shankwall, just to test the speed and fluency to measure the pace of students reading. For phonics, we use El Paso. For the sight words, we use Dr. Fry's 1,000 sight words. And of course, if the kids pass the 300 sight words after that, we are going to DSA. And pretty much it's 4th graders. And because they aren't reading on grade level, we have not had to resort to DSA as much because it's more complicated. But those are the assessments that we use.
Do you all ever look at the students' assessments, their data, where they end the school year? Do you all look at their?
Yes, when we do recruitment, we do have a release in the packet because our recruitment liaisons in the school are helping us identify the students who need our services. So in that packet comes a release for Metro and a release for us because we release data from the assessments to the parents so they can take it to school and say, this is what the kid did this summer.
And you get information from MNPS?
Yes,
okay.
for their reading level before, so it's vice versa.
Okay.
We decide to get their recruitment specialists provide us with their current reading level when we get them, and then that's how we're able to track if they made some type of progress during the summer program because we had the level they were at when school was out.
Okay. Mm-hmm. We talked about this during the initial presentation about the kind of awkward timeline of summer.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you were there, but all of this gets sent to the mayor's office as recommendations for funding. They vote on it, so the fiscal year starts July 1, which doesn't necessarily mean that you actually get the money July 1. It could be as late as August. So I'm just making sure that you took that into consideration?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
We have applied to other Metro grants that kind of run the same way with the fiscal year being on July 1, and when we're awarded those, we kind of spend the money, and it's a reimbursement process for us. If not, like I said, our program is throughout the year, so it will wrap around back again to the next summer, preparation for the next summer.
All right. So I'm looking at the budget here, the 30,000. All right. So this could be any time.
Yes.
Okay. All right. What else? If you got less money.
Okay. So if we got less money and didn't get the full, of course, our program is a scalable program. The classrooms we add to or remove. So if we say, for instance, look at our funding forecast and we see that we might not be able to serve 100, then we would go down to 75. So we would scale back that way, although that's not what we'd like to do. So we, of course, are doing everything we can to fully fund 100 students because it's making gains within all those students in the program who really need literacy intervention.
And did I see that you have outcomes? You have outcomes for the students and you have outcomes for the family.
Yes.
Did I see that? Okay.
Yes. So do you want me to elaborate a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. So for the outcomes for the students, we, our goal is that 90%, at least 90% of students will measure in 3 out of 4 of the areas of assessment. So that's an outcome that we are able to measure by assessments, pre and post assessments. And then we also, one of the outcomes, we give families their surveys at the end, because that way they're able to say, how are we serving them? How did this help your child? Would you do this program again? And in those, we do a end of the summer debrief process where we're typing in all of those responses from all of these parents, kind of, to tell us what we need to improve in, what they didn't like in the program, and so forth. So that's a result from them. And as well as having them read with their children each night. That's a big part of our program. Families have to read together and turn in reading logs every day. And for the kids, of course, it's this big incentive. So if they read, they get to their class. We have these chain links all around the building. If you ever come to Ross, you'll see a lot of links everywhere. And it's because they get to see that my class is the lead. I need to read 3 more books so we can get 3 more chain links. So it's a big incentive program for them. And with the families participating, we have a gift card drawing. So that encourages mom and dad, because if it's a possibility I might get a $50 gift card, I'm going to do what I have to make sure my kid is reading. So that's the outcomes and outputs for the parents and families. And then we have for the kids an output. It's like I said, that each child will get at least 30 books by participating in the program. And that's every day. The book a day program, they're getting books every day with that.
That's great. And the retention of kids, do they go year after year? Or?
Yes. Typically, like I said, the program, because we have the summer program tied to the school year program, when you sign on for the program, it's not just the summer program and then we'll see you later. It's that we're going to help you and be here for the whole time. So if you have a kid starting at pre-K, they will continue the program into 4th grade. And of course, people don't want to give up their spot, because after they start seeing those gains, I have families who probably weren't as interested at first, and now, well, my child knows all these sight words, how can I get in? And they want to get in, and they want to make sure that they keep their relationship. So we're requiring them to attend at least 5 workshops during the school year. So with these workshops, again, they're getting more training, more instruction on ways they can serve. So if they don't attend those, of course, they still can apply, but it wouldn't be priority enrollment. So those who have done 5 sessions, who have been participating and reading, right off the bat, they're enrolled in the program. So they don't have to go through another application process. They know that my child has a secure spot in the program. But if you maybe did 2, we make them go through the process again, and they see, well, if I had participated all year, I could have just been in the program, because they definitely want to come back and be in the program.
So there are some people that started from pre-K and finished in 3rd.
Yes, it is.
How many new students do you get every year? Since it goes through 4th grade, you're graduating those out. How many students do you
So we've taken about, depending on, like I said, some of the families will eventually say, the attendance policy, they're not, wanting to bring them every day this summer. They want to sleep in. So if they didn't finish the program, they cannot return. So we have that. If you didn't finish the program that summer, you can't come back next summer, because we didn't get to measure their style. But we will give them information for other programs, that are in the area. But like you said, if they come in and they graduate the 4th grade out, we probably accept about 30 new kids, depending, because the pre-K, all of the kids will be new. So with our partnership with Ross, we're recruiting at least 20 to 30 kids from Ross in itself.
So your 100 student capacity is the pre-K through 4th?
And sometimes we do over enroll to like 120 starting off, just because we see some of them who just cannot commit to coming every day, some parents. Whether it's domestic violence, drug abuse, we've seen a lot of situations, no transportation, some of them are walking, it's too hot, you know, so that type of thing.
Sure. Okay, is there anything else? Are we all good? Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Well, one thing is I didn't get to the newspaper, but I did submit it with my proposal, and I brought you guys copies so you can have them, and I will pass those out if that's okay.
All right.